and welcome to this video. My name is Mary Amondo, in charge of training and career advisory services here at Corporate Staffing. And today we are discussing about a very interesting topic, and that is how to terminate an employee or a staff on account of poor performance. I'm glad to be joined by our CEO, Mr. Paminas, who also happens to be a management consultant as far as HR is concerned for the span of 15 years. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me, Mary.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, we're discussing about termination of a staff or an employee on account of poor performance.
Yeah.
And to begin with, what would amount to poor performance?
So poor performance, as you know, it's quite a touchy subject. Reason because here you have a staff, you hired them, you had certain expectations, and as a management or company, you are feeling that this person is not meeting your expectation. So whenever we are talking about poor performance, there are two things to consider. Number one, it could be they are not meeting the job expectation. So when an employee joins, you give them a job description, and that job description has KPIs. So it could be they are not meeting the sales target, they are not giving you reports on time. Basically, they are not performing as to the expected standards. Yeah. The other issue that could also amount to poor performance, it could be their behavior, their character. So here you have Mary, who's an excellent, let's say, trainer, and she's meeting all her KPIs in terms of revenue, in terms of the audience. They appreciate, you know, how she trains. But then we look at the character. Maybe you're not a team player, you're causing conflict among the team members. So you see, despite your performance being very good on the job, the other things which can be coming in between you and you know, the well-being of the organization. Yeah. So performance is, when you talk about performance, those are the two considerations. Are they meeting the job expectation, the KPIs, and how is their character? Yeah.
Great. And now, when considering termination, what's the process of that someone or an organization needs to follow when terminating an employee on account of poor performance?
So I would say there are two main considerations, and these two are the ethical aspect. I mean, how do you treat this person? So if this matter goes to court, someone will ask, was there fairness on your part as the employer? And I'm going to describe where fairness comes in. Then there's also now the legal aspect. So there are certain things you need to meet before you can terminate an employee on account of poor performance. Yeah, so let me explain the process, and I'm sure the two of them will come out. So the first thing I would ask myself is, was this employee issued with a job description? And were the expectations clearly stated? So in this case, expectation will be in terms of key performance indicators. Yeah. Then the next step is, was this person formally evaluated? Is there an appraisal? If I ask for a document, can I be able to see, oh, John was appraised and he scored 30 out of 100? Yes. So if there's no formal appraisal, and formal appraisal, it does not mean calling someone in the office and telling them, no, Mary, you're dropping the ball. A formal appraisal, it's a document. Yes. So if you have that, then the question is, was the employee, and this is where the fairness aspect comes in, was the employee given a chance to improve? So if you ask a HR, that is why we call this a performance improvement plan, what they put under PIP. So this means, especially if you're dealing with an employee who's been with you for a long time, because there are so many reasons why I could not be performing. For example, maybe you're going through a personal challenge. You know, you can drop the ball 1 or 2 months. Yeah. So it's imperative that the employee is placed under performance improvement plan. Yeah. So then, after the end of the performance improvement plan, I evaluate your performance again. Then after that, I can say, Mary, you've either improved or I don't see an improvement. Yes. So it's only after that, then we can have a sitting and I terminate your contract on account of poor performance. So any process that falls short of that will be deemed to be unfair termination by the courts. Yes. And you can see the courts have ruled. In fact, the employee can go to the extent of saying, now, during the appraisal, like now, you've not provided me with the right resources. And that's a valid point. The courts would consider that as a valid point. Yeah. So the courts are quite keen to see that there's fairness and that the employee is taken through the due process. And as I've explained, those are the steps to follow. Yeah.
Great. Interesting. Now, being the CEO of Corporate Staffing Services, I know this is one of the services that we do offer.
Yes.
Maybe someone is watching and they're wondering, how does Corporate Staffing Services assist employers in the employee termination process?
Yeah. So this service would fall under what we call our HR consultancy service. And what we do is whenever our client makes a request, and we will leave the details in the description, you know, a link to the service, the first thing we do is have a free meeting with you. Just get to understand where are you coming from, what's the issue at hand, and then we're able to advise you. Yeah. We always prefer employers coming to us at the very beginning, because there are instances where someone calls you and they tell you they've already terminated the staff.
Oh, yeah.
So if there's no documentation, if there's no paperwork supporting that, I'm sorry to say, even us, we can't do magic. Yeah. But if you come at the beginning, we'll be able to advise you from the very start. We'll be able to review the documents that you have and even help run the engagement with the employee, because we are certified HR consultant. And as you know right now, the HR is a regulated profession. Not anyone can come and just sign documents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we sit with the directors or with the decision makers. It could be the managers. We sit with the staff and we take them through the due process as recognized by the law, such that now the interest of the employers are taken care of, and what is due to the employees is also taken care of. Yeah, so at the end of the day, both parties feel that this was an objective process. Yes.
Great. I know termination of an employee is a very sensitive topic, especially for both the employer and the employee.
Yes.
And due diligence needs to be done throughout the entire process.
Precisely, yes. And I'll tell you, it's quite unfortunate, but over 90% of the cases that go to court, most of the rulings are made in favor of the employees. Not that the decision taken by the employer was wrong. It's the process itself.
The process.
Yeah, so you might have found the employee indeed was not performing. The process is as important as the decision you make. Yes, so that is why we are very keen to support employers, make sure the documentation is done, make sure that the employee voice is heard, and make sure from the start. Yeah, and I think this is something we'll be discussing later. We ensure that we put your house in order such that now you don't find yourself with such kind of things. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you, Mary.
Great. Indeed, it is very important for you as an employer or as an organization to get to know how best to be able to terminate an employee on account of poor performance. And this is where we come in handy, as Paminas has rightfully mentioned. Through our HR consultancy services, we are able to help you set your house in order, ensure you have the right documentations, to be able not to find yourself in the wrong side of the law as far as employee-employer relationship is concerned. I believe you found this video very insightful, and we encourage you to reach out to us on the link below, and we'll be able to assist you in whichever way possible. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.